Hello everybody and welcome to Glasgow City, or what was Glasgow City. Now you're looking at this and you're wondering, what the hell's going on here? What is he up to? Now, for those of you who watched the Glasgow City updates on that on my YouTube channel, you'll remember that I had a couple of problems with the layout. The most notable was that a lot of the track was 30 years old and it hadn't been used for 15 years prior to the building of the layout in 2016. Add to that also we had a problem with some gaps in the track. It was going to be necessary to replace the track, so what I've decided to do is, rather than just simply replace all the track and keep everything else the same, as you can see, we're going to rebuild the layout totally. The layout is going to have a brand new name, Clydebridge Station, and it's going to have its own YouTube channel as well. Clydebridge Station YouTube channel, and indeed this video is actually going to be on that new channel. The layout I'll explain in a few moments, but you can see the first change. The old baseboards for the layout were of MDF 12mm. Having spoken to a couple of people who have been building model railway layouts, they have suggested using 12mm plywood, and that's what I've done. I've also had to cut some to shape, and I've had a couple of wee encounters of problems where I've had to put some padding underneath to get it almost to the right height. But I'm still using the original timber framing. So what I'm going to do next is paint the baseboards with an undercoat, and then what I'm going to do after that, once I've got the undercoat down, is show you what it's like, and then what we'll do then is talk about what this new layout Clydebridge Station is going to be like. So please stay tuned. Right, I've had to keep the door open to let some air in while I film here, so please excuse the noise of my neighbour's animals. That's the first coat of undercoat on. Tomorrow I'll apply a second coat, and then next week I've got this grey paint that I've been using. You could just see that tin there. I was using that on the old layout. I'll use that and put a coat of grey paint around it to finally seal the plywood. And then that will be the layout pretty much ready to get underway. So what's the layout going to be? Well, the layout will be in a similar style to the old Glasgow City layout, but there will be some fundamental changes. For a set off, the buffer stops are going to be much closer to this end of the west end of the shed. The layout will run west to east, and that's south, and that's north. That way is north. Oh, there we go. So the way I'm pointing now is north, that's south, that is east, and what's behind me is west. So there's not going to be so much of a town scene here, but this will just be the main station forecourt area, with the car park would just be over there. And in the station there's now going to be a total of 6 platforms, because we're doing away with the goods yard. So all the freight wagons are going to eventually be sold on eBay, and the rollings will allow me to have some more passenger trains in, and I'm also going to model some parcels workings as well. So there'll be a couple of buildings here now. I haven't worked out fully. The platforms will be similar in style to the old platforms on the old layout, but they'll be made of 18mm plywood, not MDF. The track system will be laid out, and when I get new track, that will then be pinned down, and I'll have the cork underlay put on it, and then it will be pinned down, and that will be then in position, and I'll know what's new track and what's old track. That I've managed to salvage what I can of the old track. You can just see there. The idea being that I can use that at the moment to plan out bits of the layout, and eventually it'll be just disposed of, because it's technically FUCK, etc. one of the fundamental changes up here is going to be the access to a new fiddle yard. On Glasgow City, the cutting was down here, and that's where we'd have to lift up trains and put them over. What I'm going to do now is that I'll eventually cut a hole in here, and trains will then go round and down underneath here to a fiddle yard that will be kept under here. Trains will then reverse into one of, I'm thinking about 6 or 7 sidings. Now, that'll actually allow me to have a lot more stock on it, and it'll also mean that the town scene can be a proper tunnel, and it'll be room for an expanded depot. I've got to obviously plan that out, and you might be thinking, well, why didn't you just cut the hole now? I need to actually plan out where the track's going to be first of all before I do any cutting, so I can get everything exactly into position. But once I have it worked out the lengths and that I need, I'll be able to then start cutting. Trains will be able to go down onto it by use of a system that David Watson's done on Dean Park Station. Now it's called, it's by Woodland Scenics, it's some foam risers. It's not going. It's going to be a gradient on a curve, but it's not going to be too big a drop, as it were. And as I say, the trains will then just reverse into some sidings that will be kept underneath here as well. Now that's going to obviously mean in the end I'll need a new space for a control panel. I'll come to that in a moment. But while we're here, what this will allow me to do now is have a much more expanded depot. And the old engine shed was here. I'm planning to put the engine shed down here. And there'll be a carriage wash probably around here, and the fuel storage tanks there. There'll be a new town scene which will come round about here and go around, and it'll also go along here. It'll probably be low relief buildings on this wall, but there'll be a key difference. On the old Glasgow City layout that came down, that won't be the case here. It'll just be a street will be going along here, and there'll be a new wall here, and it might curve round or it might go straight on, because road access to the station would be offers an entrance there and come down. The alternative might be that it could be for this wall here, maybe put up the back of a retail park or something, but I've got all sorts of options, but I fancy probably the town scene just curving round like this, and then maybe just dropping down, as it were. Imaginary, that is, the drop down. The vast majority of buildings were saved from the town scene. You could just see some of my tools there as well. You can just see just there. They are okay, so don't worry. And a couple of the other fittings have also been saved from the town scene. A couple of buildings weren't saved from the depot scene, and that was the fuel storage tanks and the carriage wash. In trying to get them off the old boards, I ended up damaging them, so I've just had to write them off. But I will eventually get new ones. But the vast majority of the buildings from the town scene have been salvaged. One problem come up with the menswear shop, Mars Menswear. You might have remembered that. When I was taking that off the balsa backboard, the actual interior scene of it got stuck on. So I come up with a clever idea of what I'm going to do with it on the new scene. I'm actually going to change its name and put the Vision Hire logo on it. And I'm going to whiten the windows, so as if it's actually a closed down branch of the TV rental firm Vision Hire. Now by 1990 the Vision Hire name had been absorbed into its parent company Granada, so this would tie in very well with it. Now, obviously I've said I'm going to get new track, and I said here I'll probably have a control panel set up here eventually. That gives you clues to the next fundamental change. I had isolating track in the station area and the goods yard, and also round at the depot bit there. What I'm going to do though in this, well, what I was trying to do is allow shunting movements, but the problem was some of the isolating track wasn't working properly, or not at all. This gives you a clue to another reason for the change in buying brand new track. I am going DCC with this layout, which also means I won't have to have as many power controllers as what I used to have down there. By the way, all that grit roots from the old layout, I'm going to borrow my mum's Hoover a week on Saturday and hoover that all up, but for God's sakes, don't tell my mum that, right? I'll keep one of the DC controllers now, because when you buy a DCC ready locomotive, you're supposed to test it originally on just DC. And that's what's going to happen. And I have already got one DC locomotive, and I'm hoping to acquire at least one more at Model Rail Scotland. Now, the DCC locomotive I've got is identical to one that was on this layout, and that was 47475 in TransPennine livery. It'll get tested in DC format, and then I'll acquire a 21-pin Hornby chip to put in it to make it DCC. I'm then going to have the Hornby Select controller, and I'm going to be using that. I am aware that people have said that the Hornby Select controller isn't the best one on the market, but for the size of this layout, for me, it is just ideal. And more locomotives will come on stream. The old locomotives will eventually get sold on eBay, because they're going to be no good on this layout. One last little change that you'll eventually see as well on this layout, as I say, is the name of the station in town is going to be called Clydebridge, but it's still same setting, west of Scotland area. So like the Western Scottish Leyland National will fit on there just nicely. Now that completes this first update. By the time of video number 2, which should hopefully appear at the end of February, I'll have had some old track put on the boards to plan out, and I might actually have one brand new stretch of track laid out as well, which will be capable of testing the locomotives. And I might acquire a couple of other things when I'm at Model Rail Scotland. The trick with this layout is I'm going to take my time with it. I'm not going to try and rush into it thinking I haven't watched Everard Junction and Dean Park, that was it, I've learned everything. That's not the case. I've got a lot of learning to do by watching them. I'm just going to take my time with it. But there will be still the old monthly updates here on YouTube showing you how progress is. It's going to take years to come to fruition, but I hope it will eventually be a good fun layout. So, for those of you watching on my current YouTube channel, Robert Clark, please now subscribe to Clydebridge Station, and that's where all the videos will be on that brand new YouTube channel, Clydebridge Station. And I shall see you at the end of February, beginning of March, when hopefully we'll have a locomotive running. Bye bye for now.